Hi, it's me, and let's get straight into reviewing the living daylights out of a very popular little lens for the Fuji X mirrorless camera system, the little Fuji XF 35mm f2 RWR. It costs £350 in the UK or $400 US, so a little less than Fuji's older 35mm f1.4 option. And it will only work on Fuji X mount cameras. I'll be testing this one on my Fuji X-T20. This lens has a great reputation for sharpness and overall build quality, and a small 35mm lens with a bright aperture is exactly the kind of thing a lot of Fuji owners' dreams are made of. It's the full frame equivalent of a 52mm lens with a depth of field of f3 or so it's a nice standard focal length, neither wide angle nor telephoto, and it can give you somewhat out of focus backgrounds at f2 and lets you keep shooting in darker conditions. I know that a number of wedding photographers extol the virtues of this particular lens as it's so small and discreet, getting you nice, candid images with just a little emphasis on your subject. The build quality of the lens is fantastic. When it first came out, I was disappointed that it wasn't a bit smaller, like a pancake lens, but handling it is such a pleasure that my disappointment soon dissipated. It's lightweight at about 200 grams, but it still feels nice and solid and metallic, perfectly balancing on just about any Fuji camera. The lens is very well weather sealed at all its ingress points and with a weather sealing gasket in the rear. Its aperture ring clicks every third of an f-stop very positively, and the manual focus ring turns very smoothly. It's electronically coupled to the focus motor and responds very positively. And the autofocus motor, as you can see here, works silently, accurately, and lightning fast. Something the eagle-eyed among you will spot here is this lens's very strong focus breathing. The image zooms in and out rather more than usual as it focuses. This lens does not have image stabilization. It comes with a dinky little hood that screws on, and so you have to fit your lens cap on top of it. Fuji just can't seem to make up their minds with their lens hoods. Every time I test a new one of their lenses, it's like a Kinder egg, a new surprise every time. And the filter thread size is a very small 43mm wide. Overall, absolutely top marks for build quality, although as I said, I don't think much of that awkward lens hood. But what about image quality? I'm testing it here on my 24MP Fuji X-T20. Straight from f2, in the middle of the image, we see bitingly sharp resolution and lots of contrast. That sharpness continues quite far until you reach the very corners. As you can see, those edges look pretty blurry. I suspect that's because the camera's having to do a little too much distortion correction. More on that in a minute. The only improvement at f2.8 is a little more contrast. f4 sees more solid resolution though, and f5.6 is really nice. It stays this sharp down to f11, and it's only at f16 that we began to see a little softness due to diffraction. Overall, you should bear in mind that corner softness we saw up to f4 really is confined to the very edges of the image. Other than that, the picture quality of this lens is brilliantly sharp, with very good contrast. Alright now, distortion and vignetting. This is normally corrected for you by your camera or by Fuji's RAW conversion software, but I've used some third-party software to see what's really going on here. It looks like Fuji have attempted to correct this lens for barrel distortion, but it's been squeezed into the edges. Fuji's in-camera corrections are really having to stretch those edges to straighten the image, which will be a major reason why they looked a bit soft in my sharpness test. Those corners also look rather dark at f2. They brighten up at f2.8 and also at f4, although there's always a little vignetting tucked into those edges. This lens can focus as closely as 35cm to your subject, pretty good. Unfortunately, like in a lot of Fuji lenses I've tested, close-up image quality is a weakness here. At f2, we see plenty of softness and colour fringing, f2.8 is a little clearer, and f4 is decently sharp. Let's see how the lens works against bright light. Pretty well, we don't see too much flaring here. Fuji's lens coatings are really good. Next, bokeh. You do have to get a little close to your subject for out of focus backgrounds with this lens. When you do though, they generally look nice and soft. Nothing to write home about here, good or bad. Finally, longitudinal chromatic aberration. It's a weak show here, really. The bokeh shows red highlighting before the plane of focus and blue beyond. That continues at f2.8 and still remains a little at f4, as you can see here. So, overall, the little Fuji XF 35mm f2 is a seriously nice lens, although not quite a perfect one. Image quality is generally very sharp and punchy, straight from f2, although it seems like Fuji had some problems with image quality in the very edges of the image frame. The far corners of your pictures will never really impress, if that's an issue for you. It won't be to most people, though. Its strong focus breathing could be an annoyance to video shooters, and if you're taking close-up pictures, then shoot wider than f4 at your own risk. But outside of those limitations, the lens is frankly really great. It's a bit sharper than its older 35mm f1.4 brother, and certainly its autofocus system is far better, so it comes recommended.